Greetings and welcome to ChinnyVision. This time we're looking at Supercars. To be honest, I was never a fan of games like Pole Position or Grand Prix Simulator, but Supercars was a top-down racer that really caught my attention when my mate first got it on his Atari ST. It wasn't the flashiest graphics in the world on the ST, the sound wasn't fantastic, but what really struck me was this gameplay and the ability to upgrade your cars in really interesting ways. I'm primarily looking at the Amiga version here because this was the lead version and it has the best graphics and sound. This nice level of presentation with the game. So we've got the menu screen there, you can go and buy a new car, you can upgrade your car, or you can go and race, and we're going to go straight to track 1 and have a quick race round in our base car. Top down view here, you start at the back, nice smooth scrolling. Must warn you now, because the capture lag on this, I'm driving particularly appallingly because this game requires absolutely perfect timing on the corners to get around them. It is perfectly possible to get around all the corners without crashing, but not if you've got a few frames delay when you're trying to play it. So we're out in front, the game starts off fairly easily. You've only got to do 5 laps, and there's only 3 cars that you've got to beat initially. There's 3 different divisions to race in. You start off in the lowest division, but as you go through each division, the computer starts to introduce more cars to race against. So at the end of the first stage of the game, you'll find yourself racing against 7 cars who are all much better skilled than the ones we're racing against here. There's 9 tracks in each section, and the tracks repeat for each level of the game. You can be better off starting on one of the more difficult tracks, first of all, such as track 9, because then you can pretty much walk it without too much competition. But we completed track 1 there. We get a nice animation here with people cheering and jumping up and down. We've got £20,000 to spend on repairs such as engine, the body, the fuel and the tyres, and also upgrading the car and eventually buying a new car. So as I say, you can select win class 1 and we can select all the different tracks there. So we're going to track 3 now. So we can just earn a bit more money to go and do something interesting in a bit. And these cars will be marginally more difficult than they were in the first race, but not much. As I say, the game gradually ramps up the difficulty. So there we go, we've won that race. As you can see, our engine, our bodywork, our fuel and our tyres are now worn down considerably down there on the bottom right hand corner. But we do now have rather a nice stash of money, £45,000. So now we can go to the garage. The nice lady smiles at you, and we can now do some repairs to our car for the money amount specified there, and the money will depend on how much damage you've done. I'm going to leave the body and leave the bodywork alone there, and I've also selected some power steering which will help me get around the corners a bit easier. It does change the handling though, so that's one to watch out for if you're not used to it. So suddenly we've now got 4 cars to race against, all a little bit better rather than the 3 we had in the previous race. Power steering helped me around the corners here. I'm probably going to crash in a second, there I go. But it gives you a tighter turning circle there, which can be advantageous on these more twisty circuits. Still struggling here a little bit. Oh, just down to position 4. And if you don't... Here's the thing about Supercars. If you don't qualify in the top 3, you're kicked out of the game. That's it, game over. It's quite harsh, but that's life. In later stages of the game, you get to upgrade your car. As you can see here, I've got the next level up of car, which is a little bit faster. I'm now racing against 6 cars, and I'm now in class 2 as well, so it's 7 laps to race each game. As the difficulty progresses, you get more obstacles on the course as well, including water, mud and oil. Mud is brown, it slows you down. Oil will cause you to spin. Now, what you can do when you've got a bit more money, as we have here because we've cheated, is go into the car dealership and you can buy a car. And you can have a conversation with the car dealer and try and negotiate a discount, or you can be kicked out for saying the wrong thing. We managed to successfully buy a car by trying not to be too clever. And we go to the garage now and we can go silly with the upgrades because we've got a lot of money. You can add missiles to the cars as well to knock out the cars in front of you, and they're causing obstruction and hopefully slow everybody else down. So now I've got a top of the range car. I've fired the missile at the car in front, so hopefully when everyone goes round it's going to cause some big problems and slow the cars down in front of me. The problem here is I've now got the capture delay and the fastest car in the game, and I pretty much can't judge where the corners are. So it's pretty impossible. I assure you, usually it is much easier. I'm just making it look incredibly difficult here because I just can't time it. And you know what I said about causing an obstruction for everybody else? Well, yeah, all I've done is cause an obstruction for myself here. Oh dear. Yeah, that backfired. Supercars came out on all the major formats: Amiga, ST, Amstrad CPC, Sinclair Spectrum and Commodore 64. The ST version pretty much looks like the Amiga version with fewer colours, as you'd expect, at an AY tune on it rather than the Amiga's sampled music. We'll have a quick look at the Amstrad version here, and as you can see the colours are a little bit garish. I got this game after seeing all my mates' ST, and to be honest, when I first booted it up I was a little bit disappointed that it looked so ugly. But when I started to play it, I realised that despite the small window, despite the ugliness of it, it was Supercars. It played like Supercars. It was just as much fun as Supercars on my mate's ST, and it quickly became one of my favourite games on the Amstrad. It really is a good game to play, and the Spectrum version stands up there as well. It's the same code, it's the same game, just monochrome, doesn't suffer from quite the ugliness the Amstrad version does because of its odd colour choices. Supercars, on pretty much whatever format you pick, is a solid gold classic. There's many imitators, but there's only one car game that's super.